I'm standing in a building right now that used to be a tiny garage. Now it's a full operation. Employees everywhere, cars lined up outside, phones ringing nonstop. And I still can't believe this started with me cleaning one car for like $20. But let me rewind, because 6 months ago, I was broke as hell. No plan, no real job I cared about, just doing random gigs and trying to stay afloat. One day, I saw this dirty car parked outside a gas station. Like, really dirty. Dust, trash inside, stains everywhere. And for some reason, I thought, I could clean that better than whatever they're doing at car washes. So I did something dumb. I left a note on the windshield. Just wrote, $20 full clean, interior plus exterior. Didn't even think anyone would call me. But they did. Later that day, I get a text. Can you do it today? And I remember just staring at my phone like, wait, for real? That was my first job. No equipment, no business name, no nothing. Just me, a bucket, some basic cleaning stuff, and a car that looked like it hadn't been touched in months. I didn't know it at the time, but that one $20 job was the start of something I couldn't even imagine yet.
I showed up to that first car not ready for anything serious. Like I literally borrowed some cleaning supplies from my neighbor and watched a few YouTube videos the night before just to not look completely clueless. When I knocked on the owner's door, I expected him to laugh or cancel. Instead, he just pointed at the car and said, "Just make it not embarrassing anymore." That line stuck with me, because it wasn't even about cleaning at that point. It was about fixing something people had given up on. So I got to work, and honestly, it took way longer than I expected. Way longer. What I thought would be a 30-minute job turned into hours of scrubbing, vacuuming, wiping, repeating. At some point, I remember thinking, why did I even offer $20 for this? I'm basically working for free. But when I finally finished, the guy came outside, looked at the car, and just went quiet. No reaction at first, which made me nervous. Then he said, "Bro, this doesn't even look like my car anymore." And he actually paid me extra, like more than we agreed. That was the first time something clicked in my head. Not, I'm going to be rich. More like, wait, people will actually pay for this if it's done well? So I started thinking differently. Not just as someone trying to make quick money, but as someone solving a problem better than the usual option. And that's when I realized there were a lot of dirty cars out there, and only a few people actually cared enough to do it properly. I just didn't know yet how big that gap could really become.
After that first job, I didn't stop. Not because I had some big business plan. I didn't. I just needed money, and this was the first thing that actually worked. So I started doing more cars. One by one. Parking lots, driveways, random messages from people who saw my little $20 clean note. At first, it was still small time. Like, I'd clean one car, go home, wait for the next call. But then something weird started happening. People started talking. Not in a viral business way, more like, yo, this kid actually does a solid job for cheap. And that word, cheap, was actually my advantage, because nobody expected much, but I kept over-delivering. If someone paid for exterior cleaning, I'd clean the rims too. If they wanted interior, I'd go extra on details they didn't even mention. No strategy, just pride. And slowly, I started noticing something. Some of those same customers came back. Then they started referring friends, then friends of friends. One guy even told me, "Bro, I don't know what you're doing different, but I'm not going back to car washes." That's when I realized I wasn't just cleaning cars anymore. I was building trust. And trust is something people don't really notice until it's already there. But I still didn't see the bigger picture. I was just thinking, okay, cool, more jobs, more money. Not, this could actually become something bigger. Not yet.
Things started changing faster than I could handle. At first, it was just more calls. Then it was people asking if I could come right now, like I was some kind of emergency service for dirty cars. And weirdly, I said yes to almost everything. I was working non-stop. Morning, afternoon, sometimes late night under streetlights, just trying to finish one more car. My body was tired, but my brain was stuck in this loop like, if I stop now, I lose momentum. And momentum felt like the only thing I had. But the real shift came when I realized I couldn't do it alone anymore. One day I had like 5 bookings stacked and only 2 hands. So I called my friend, just casually at first. I said, "Yo, you want to help me clean some cars? I'll split the money." He showed up thinking it was going to be easy cash. First day in, he realized it wasn't. It's not just wipe and go. It's details, pressure, speed, expectations. But he stayed, and that changed everything. Because now I wasn't just doing random jobs anymore. I had someone working with me. We started getting more organized. I wrote down bookings on my phone, started planning routes, trying to save time between jobs. And that's when I noticed something even bigger. People didn't just want a clean car. They wanted consistent results. They didn't care how tired I was. They cared if their car looked better than the last time. And that pressure, it forced me to get better fast. Better systems, better speed, better quality. Then one day, a customer asked me something I didn't expect. He looked at me and said, "Do you even have a business name for this yet?" And I just paused, because until that moment, I didn't.
That question stayed in my head longer than it should have. A business name? At that point, I was still just the guy who cleans cars. Nothing official, no logo, no website, no plan. Just bookings, buckets, and way too little sleep. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something uncomfortable. If I wanted to grow, I couldn't stay random guy with a sponge forever. So I gave it a name. Nothing fancy, just something simple I could say without overthinking it. Then I made a basic page online. No budget, no branding team, just a clean before and after photo and a number to text. And that's when things got weird, because as soon as it looked even slightly real, people started treating it differently. Instead of, "Yo, can you come clean my car?" it turned into, "Hey, do you have availability this week?" Same service, different perception. And suddenly, I wasn't just getting random one-off jobs anymore. I was getting repeat clients, fleet cars, small businesses, people asking if I could handle multiple vehicles at once. That's when I realized I had a problem I actually wanted. I was getting more work than I could physically do. So I started thinking bigger, not just cleaner cars, a cleaner system. I started training my friend properly, showed him exactly how I did things, not just clean this, but why I clean it that way. Because if this was going to grow, it couldn't depend only on me anymore. And the first time I stepped back and watched him finish a job on his own, it hit me. This wasn't just a side hustle anymore. It was turning into something real, something that could actually scale. I just didn't know yet how far that idea was about to go. The first time I realized this could actually become big, I was standing in a parking lot looking at 6 cars lined up waiting for us. 6. For me, that used to be like a month's work. Now it was one afternoon, and I only had 2 people doing it, me and my friend. We were moving fast, but not fast enough. I remember looking at the schedule on my phone and thinking, this is not sustainable. But at the same time, I couldn't stop smiling, because this was the first time I had the opposite problem I used to have. Not no clients, but too many clients. So I did something I had never done before. I raised the price, just slightly. Not greedy, not crazy, just enough to slow things down and filter out people who didn't really care. And something surprising happened. Nobody left. If anything, more people came, because now it looked more legit, more professional. That's when I started understanding something I never learned before. People don't always choose the cheapest option. They choose the option that feels reliable. Around that same time, I stopped doing everything manually in my head. I started tracking jobs, time, earnings, fuel, supplies. At first, it felt unnecessary. Then it became obvious, because I could literally see patterns forming. Which jobs took too long, which customers were repeat, which services were most profitable. And that's when I started making real decisions like a business owner, not just a guy working jobs. I hired another person, then another. Small at first, part-time help, friends of friends. But now we were no longer just me cleaning cars. We were a team. And one evening, after finishing a long day, I looked around at the cars, the people working, the small system we built, and I thought, how did this even happen from one $20 job? But the answer was simple. I didn't try to start a company. I just solved a small problem better than everyone else and kept going. A year later, I was standing in a place that didn't even feel real. Same city, same me,
But everything else? Completely different. We had a real shop now. Not a parking lot setup, not random driveways, a full space with bays, equipment, uniforms, actual branding on the wall. And cars were coming in non-stop. Some days it still hits me like a glitch in reality, because I remember the beginning too clearly. Me standing outside a gas station with a handwritten $20 clean note. Now, we had contracts with small businesses, regular fleet clients, a schedule that didn't depend on luck anymore. But the biggest change wasn't the money. It was the system. I wasn't cleaning every car anymore. I was running how cars got cleaned, training people, fixing processes, improving speed, scaling quality. And that shift changed everything. One night after closing, I stayed behind alone in the shop. Lights off, quiet, just the smell of soap and water still in the air. And I started thinking about how it all began. One car, one decision to say yes, one moment of doing something small, but doing it better than expected. That's it. No investors, no big plan, no lucky break, just consistency. And as crazy as it sounds, that's what built everything. Because in the end, it wasn't about cleaning cars. It was about realizing that small services aren't small at all when you scale them the right way. And I just stood there thinking, bro, I really turned this into a company. From nothing to something I never thought I'd be part of.
Before you go, hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable stories just like this one. See you in the next story.